Do you still believe Hollywood's golden age was filled with nothing but charming gentlemen and romantic legends? Think again. At 95 years old, Tippi Hedren no longer has anything to lose, and that makes her story impossible to ignore. The woman the world remembers as the icy, elegant face of the birds has finally spoken openly about the men who shaped, scarred, and tried to control her life. What she reveals is not glamour, but entitlement. Not romance, but cruelty. Behind tailored suits and public smiles were men who believed they had the right to dominate, punish, and possess. This is not a nostalgic trip through classic cinema. This is a reckoning. The story of 7 powerful men and 1 woman who refused to surrender her dignity. It begins in 1961, on a calm Friday morning at Universal Studios. The California sun hadn't yet burned away the mist hanging over the lot. Inside a luxurious office heavy with cigar smoke, Alfred Hitchcock sat transfixed, not by a film, but by a television commercial for a diet drink called Seago. On the screen, a blonde woman walked confidently, then turned back and smiled. That single moment ignited something dark and possessive inside the aging director. Hitchcock picked up the phone and issued an order that allowed no refusal. Find her, sign her, now. That woman was Tippi Hedren. At the time, she was a divorced single mother in New York, struggling to support her young daughter, Melanie. When Hollywood came calling with a 7-year contract, it felt like salvation. She believed she was stepping into a dream. Instead, she walked into a beautifully decorated cage. The true nightmare revealed itself during filming of The Birds. Hitchcock had promised that the infamous attic scene would use mechanical birds. He lied. On the morning of the shoot, Tippi was informed that the machines were broken. Real birds would be used instead. For 5 straight days, she was trapped inside a wire enclosure while ravens, seagulls, and pigeons were thrown at her. Their claws tore her skin. Their beaks narrowly missed her eyes. Her screams were real. Hitchcock watched through the camera without mercy. When a bird struck inches from her eye, she collapsed. A doctor finally stopped the shoot. Later, inside a sealed limousine, Hitchcock crossed his final line. He lunged at her, groping and trying to force himself on her. Tippi fought back, shoved him away, and escaped. That rejection enraged him. When she demanded release from her contract, he threatened her calmly and coldly. If you leave, I will destroy your career. And he did. For 2 years, she was paid not to work, blocked from every opportunity, even when directors like François Truffaut requested her. Hitchcock would rather waste money than let her belong to anyone else. She kept her dignity, but lost her dream. Desperate for protection, Tippi turned to Lew Wasserman, head of MCA and Universal Studios. If Hitchcock was king on set, Wasserman ruled the entire kingdom. She believed her agent would defend her. Instead, he listened without emotion. When she finished, he explained reality to her in chilling terms. Hitchcock made money. She was replaceable. Her choices were simple: submit and become a star, or refuse and disappear. Hollywood, she learned, did not run on justice. It ran on profit. Wasserman ensured she remained blacklisted, still paid $600 a week, but forbidden from working anywhere. In 1966, Tippi traveled to London for what she believed would be a fresh start, working with Charlie Chaplin and starring opposite Marlon Brando. Brando was not just a star. He was worshipped. But the illusion shattered instantly. On their first meeting, Brando casually proposed sex. When she refused, she became invisible. Worse, she watched him openly disrespect Chaplin, arriving late, mocking him, and dismissing the work. Years later, the truth behind Last Tango in Paris confirmed what she already knew. Brando's cruelty wasn't arrogance, it was abuse, disguised as genius. Then there was Sean Connery. On the set of Marnie in 1964, Connery felt like safety itself. Hitchcock feared him. Connery treated Tippi with kindness. For a moment, she believed in confirmation that real gentlemen still existed. Then came his 1965 Playboy interview. Connery stated that hitting a woman could be justified. He repeated the belief again in 1987, without regret. The knight in shining armor collapsed into something far darker. Connery hadn't harmed her directly, but his words validated violence for millions. Her personal life brought no escape. In 1964, she married producer Noel Marshall, believing she had found peace. Instead, she was pulled into madness. After a 1969 trip to Africa, Marshall became obsessed with filming wild animals living among humans. He brought lions into their home, then tigers, leopards, elephants. During the 11-year production of Raw, injuries piled up. Cinematographer Jan de Bont was scalped, requiring over 200 stitches. Tippi was bitten, thrown, and permanently scarred. Worst of all, her teenage daughter Melanie was mauled in the face, nearly losing an eye. Marshall continued anyway. The film failed in 1981, losing $17 million. The marriage did not survive. The deepest wound came in 1972. On the set of The Harrod Experiment, 22-year-old Don Johnson began pursuing 14-year-old Melanie Griffith. Tippi watched helplessly as her daughter was drawn into a relationship no adult should have allowed. By 15, Melanie moved in with Johnson. Tippi signed the papers out of fear, believing it was the only way to keep her daughter safe. The damage was permanent. Childhood was stolen. That relationship later produced Dakota Johnson, but its beginning remains indefensible. Even decades later, the pattern repeated. In 2004, on the set of I Heart Huckabees, Tippi encountered Dustin Hoffman. Publicly warm and funny, privately demeaning and crude. He hid harassment behind method acting. Tippi recognized the same entitlement she had seen her entire life, only repackaged. Hollywood had not changed. It had simply learned how to hide better. At 95, Tippi Hedren stands unbroken. The men who tried to control her have faded into history. She remains honest, dignified, and free. Power may rule Hollywood, but courage outlives it.